on the unceded territory of the Kumeyaay Nation. Today, the Kumeyaay people continue to maintain their political sovereignty and cultural traditions as vital members of the San Diego community. We acknowledge their tremendous contributions to our region and thank them for their stewardship. All right, so today's agenda, we will be going over the enrollment timeline. So make sure you have your pen and paper out or your iPad or whatever tablet you're using. We'll be going over the two-pass enrollment and the limits of enrollment. We'll be going over the first quarter schedule inspiration, a quick GE overview, some important deadlines, and some advice from one of our peers that is here in the audience today. All right. So some important times for you to know is the enrollment timeline. So June 18, the online advising opened. So that's that virtual advising center that you all have been asking us questions through. So you can ask us questions about like your enrollment, what you should enroll in, your ABIB credit, GE requirements. So feel free to send us a back message if you haven't already done so. And then July 28th, you all have received your enrollment appointment times and they're viewable on your Triton link. So you can go ahead and view that on your Triton link if you haven't. It'll take you to WebBridge, which is also where you will be enrolling, and we'll go over that. But you can see your enrollment times. You'll have two appointment times, so make sure you note both of those in your calendar. And then from August 14th through August 16th, first pass enrollment on WebRidge will happen. That's where you're enrolling your first couple of classes. And then on August 19th through the 21st, second pass enrollment will begin. That's when you'll enroll in like the second half of your classes. So these dates are very important. The July 28th has already passed, but the August 14th through 16th, the August 19th through 21, you'll definitely want to note your first and second passes. So we'll go over what the two-pass enrollment system actually is. So the two-pass enrollment system is pretty much how you're going to be enrolling now all the way until the end of your career at UCSD. So it's done in two passes to allow for some equity in enrolling in classes. So during your first pass enrollment, you're allowed to enroll in up to 11.5 units. So that's about two 4-unit classes, or two 4-unit classes and a 2-unit lab if you have that, or like a 2-unit seminar. So 11.5 units. Then during your second pass, that 11.5 units increases to 19.5 units. So that's about 2 more classes. This also is the time that waitlist opens. So if there's a class that you want to get into, but it's full, you can waitlist at this time. I do not recommend waitlisting classes until you're actually a full-time student. So until you're enrolled in at least 3 4-unit classes. So then that number increases for a final time, 22 units on the first day of instruction. And you can also enroll in classes. Enrollment will close for a day, but then after that, you can change your schedule around and enroll in classes um, up until Friday of week 2 of the quarter. Once you enroll in your first pass classes, um, you'll have access to our walk-ins. So if you have any questions, you could come and join us during walk-ins. It is so important that you enroll during your enrollment times, because if you miss your first pass enrollment, you'll have to enroll in all of your classes during your second pass enrollment. And it makes it significantly harder to enroll in classes during that time. So please go and check what your enrollment time is after we chat here. And then make sure you notate that in your calendar, set reminders, do whatever you need to do so that you can remember when your first and second pass are. So we're going to go over some first quarter schedule inspirations. So Major requirements are always they're always a good first kind of classes that you want to enroll in. The department has saved some seats for first years, even though they may look full right now. So like if you go and you look on WebReg and you're trying to like plan a schedule out and it's like, oh, the class is full, don't worry too much. Departments will save seats for incoming first years. Um, the next thing that you want to consider enrolling in are some college requirements. And if you can't do that, you can look at some university requirements. And then we also have some electives. So a lot of you will eventually need to take classes that don't count necessarily towards anything, but it counts towards the number of units that you need to graduate. We call those electives. They're fun classes that give you units and kind of give you a little bit of a break from taking your harder major classes. All right. So one main tool that we recommend, well, one of the few tools that we recommend for planning your first quarter schedule is to just look at your the tentative plan or the proposed plan that your major provides for you. So it has your college requirements as well as some university requirements and some major requirements. So if you go to plans.ucsd.edu and you look at this example here, it's an econ student. So during their first quarter, it was recommended that they enroll in Warren Writing, a GE class, an Econ 1 course, and a Math 20A class. Um, Keep in mind that this is just a template. It's not set in stone. So a lot of you will come in with like AP credit, or you'll come in at different levels for math and writing. You'll just have to change things around. But this is just like to give you some ideas on how to plan for your first quarter. You get to see like there's a major, you got some GEs, you got some major classes, and then you can kind of go off of that. So now I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Amanda.
Hey there, everybody. So here's a quick overview of what your requirements are going to look like as first year students here, or coming in as first year students to UCSD at Warren College. So you will all be required to take two Warren Writing classes, and those are Warren Writing 10A and Warren Writing 10B. Both classes must be done for letter grade. And then you also have the ethics and society requirement, which are composed of that Phil or Poly 27 and Phil or Poly 28. Both those classes will also be need to be done for letter grade. So those four classes also need to be done in sequence. So that means you must complete 10A before you can take 10B, and then so on and so forth from there. In addition to that, you also have two formal skills courses, and that can be satisfied if when you look at our website, there's going to be a list of different options, but it includes calculus courses that we offer at UCSD, stats, programming courses. So it has a variety of course options that you can choose from for your formal skills. And that is one of our G requirements that oftentimes can be overlapped with major coursework. So some of you may be in majors that require calculus, again, or a programming class. And so if that's the case, oftentimes those classes work for the formal skills requirement as well. Um, and then this section, the programs of concentration or area studies. So all students and the majority of all of you all will have to do programs of concentration. Only those of you in a declared engineering major will be responsible for an area study. But for the majority, programs of concentration, what are those? So you have to complete two sets of programs of concentration. Each one contains 6 4-unit courses that are required, of which at least 3 must be upper division. And we number all of our courses that are upper division 100 or higher. Again, the categories of the programs of concentration are picked from categories unrelated to your specific major. So if your major is a falls under the social sciences, then you would be required to complete a program of concentration under the humanities and fine arts, and then an additional program of concentration under the math science category. Similar for area studies. Really quickly for area studies, you will also they work. Works the same way. You do are required to do 3 classes for each area study. So for programs of concentration, it's a total of 12 classes. For area studies, it'll be a total of 6. For area studies, 2 must be upper division for each particular area study. Okay. So for university requirements, all of you are required to complete the entry level writing requirement. Some of you may have already met that through a AP score, for example. Maybe some of you took a community college course, and some of you would have passed the right placement exam. So that's the straightforward way of meeting the entry level writing requirement. If you don't meet the criteria through one of those means, then you will likely be placed in one of the AWP courses. And again, you would find that out through the writing placement exam. AWP is what would then help you. Um, Meet the ELWR requirement, and that one does need to be met. It's a time-sensitive requirement as well. So if you do place an AWP, it is important, it is vital for you to enroll in that class in the fall if possible. Um, you also will have the American History Institutions requirement, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, or DEI for short, and then the JTCCER requirements, or climate change university requirement. Most of you, again, will have met ELWR prior to the academic year starting. And that's also the case for AHI, especially if you took US history in high school or a combination of US history and AP government in high school. Um, the transcripts are being reviewed, and so admissions would make that decision or look at that and update that information by the middle of fall quarter, essentially. But all of you should expect to have to take a DEI class and a JTCCER course. So how to access WebReg, right? So you want to go to Triton Link, and you would just go to tritonlink.ucsd.edu. You would hover over the classes and enrollment section of my Triton Link, and then you would click on WebReg. And then Triton Link is going to be your tool that gives you access to different things that you're going to need during your time here, including things like your degree audit, schedule of classes. But in this case, again, we're focusing on RedBridge, so that's where you would go ahead and click to access it. Once you click on it, you're going to notice that it's going to send you to this page right here that you see on the screen. On here, you'll be able to then select the term that you're going to be looking for specifically. So obviously for fall quarter, you would click go. And then once you do that, it's going to send you to your actual to the actual WebReg page where you can then click on appointment time. And when you click on appointment time, it'll give you your 2 different enrollment options, or not options, but enrollment times that, as Shay mentioned earlier, you will want to make sure that you've written down. So you can see here there's a first pass and then a second pass, and these are samples, but you will also notice that there's a start and an end time. So for that first pass, it is important that you do not miss that first pass. If you miss it, then you will have to wait until your second pass to sign up for a class. But this is going to be the easiest way to access the enrollment times for fall quarter, in addition to doing course planning and then eventually enrolling into your fall quarter classes. A couple of additional important deadlines that you should keep in mind, especially for the fall quarter. So these are upcoming deadlines. And although, you see the first one and it says October and it feels like it's going to be quite a bit away from now, those dates do come up really fast. So every quarter, we always suggest that you keep a note of what these important deadlines are. Obviously, they adjust every quarter. And so, again, what you're seeing right now is for fall. So at this point, the wait list will officially end on October 9th. So that means that students are able to waitlist for a couple of weeks, and then eventually it will end. And then you'll also see that there's a deadline to drop courses without a W, so you can remove it from your records without without there being a trace of that on your history. And then you can also change your units or even your grading option. So you can see the different deadlines here. The last deadline that you see is the dropping with a W. So you can still withdraw from a class, but there will be a W assigned to the class, signifying that you did withdraw from the course after a particular deadline. And then you can see that the timeline for these is usually always going to be 11:59 of that specific date. So by 11:59 on 10/9 or 11:59 on 10/24 and so forth. And then that's it. And so now we're going to go ahead and have our our peer, share a little bit about, you know, some advice that she has for you all.
All right, thank you, Amato. So hello guys, I'm Kimberly, and I'm one of the peer academic advisors at Warren. So I'm a student just like you all, but I'm about to enter my fourth year, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I can go ahead and share the advice that I have, and as well as of my current peers as well. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it, but for me, my piece of advice to you guys is just think about your preferences, commitments, and habits when planning out your schedule. So, one thing I didn't know about, unfortunately, was that typically a full course load is 16 units, but also you can also take 12 units. It's just like most plans will show 4 classes. But a thing I didn't know was that you could take 3 if you wanted to, which I felt like for my first quarter, since I was like kind of new to the quarter system, like, taking more classes, having more commitments, it kind of made it tricky. So yeah, I'd say like, when planning out your classes, just try to like take a mix of them, like if you can. I understand that it's not always possible, like if you have a bunch of prereqs you need to take, but if you have the room in your schedule, like, be nice to yourselves. It's okay to take 12 units, or if you want to like combine kind of like how they were covering earlier with taking like, GE courses, major courses, maybe even electives, like if you have the time to take maybe something like a class and you're interested in, like maybe you've always wanted to learn more about music, if you have the room in your schedule, like, take a music class. It could be a lot of fun. And for my current coworkers, I'll share what they had said. So Esther, she had shared that always have backup courses in case you don't get into courses you need or wanted to take, and to have an idea of how courses fill up during first or second passes, so you can plan accordingly of what you'll prioritize. And she uses a resource that's a student-made site to see how fast courses fill up in past quarters. So with that website that she shared, it actually shows you based on previous enrollment data. So it gathers data from like last year, like the year before that, and it shows how courses typically fill up. So that way you can kind of like see like a general pattern. And I think it's something very useful to know as you progress throughout your undergrad, because then you kind of have an idea of which ones you do need to first pass. Because there are some courses that will fill up very quickly. For my experience, at least, like this could happen to multiple departments, but psych classes tend to fill up really fast. So if you do need to take a psych class for your major or GE, maybe first pass that. But yeah, using that, it's a helpful resource. And for Pauline, she said that she definitely recommends looking at how much time it'll take from one class to another, as often people underestimate how big campus is. And oftentimes there's only a 10-minute block between classes, and it can really make a difference. And there's a website that she shared that shows how buildings are on campus and which route you can go to with it. So definitely recommend that too. You don't want to probably be that student who has a class in Warren and then another class in Ravel, like only 10 minutes apart. You might think it's easy to get there, maybe on a bike or a scooter, but walking, it's definitely a challenge. So I definitely say take her advice when planning out your courses, or at least try to find a way to work around it, just so you're not torturing yourselves. But yeah, that's pretty much the advice we have to share, and we're happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
So, So with that being said, we are now going to go into our portion of the Q&A, and I'm actually going to stop the recording now.